Was Michael Jackson's multi-million-dollar estate the victim of fraud and forgery, or did his siblings make baseless claims against his chosen executors? As a lawyer with over 2 decades of experience, I'm going to analyze the shocking allegations that Michael Jackson's siblings made against his estate executors and determine if there were any real evidence of fraud and forgery. When Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, a bitter family feud erupted over his multi-million-dollar estate and his will. 5 of the King of Pop's siblings shockingly accused his appointed executors of fraud, forgery, and exploitation. They claimed Michael's 2002 will was fake and that he never wanted the executors involved with his life or assets. But the executors swiftly denied explosive allegations, stating that multiple courts had already validated the will's legitimacy. They argued Jackson's own family was simply making baseless claims fueled by conspiracy theories and greed over the estate's profits, which ballooned to over $475 million under their leadership. So who was telling the truth? Were the executors actually conspiring to defraud Michael's children and rightful heirs? Or were the siblings trying to undermine their brother's final wishes out of jealousy? In this video, I'll break down all of the evidence from both sides of this high-stakes legal battle. More importantly, I'll review the critical legal lessons from this real-life drama about how to properly protect your own will from being challenged or discredited down the road. After the King of Pop's passing, his brothers and sisters, including Randy, Janet, and Rebby, claimed in a scathing letter that the 2000 will naming the executors was an outright fraud, a fake, flawed, and fraudulent document that Michael never wanted nor agreed to. They alleged their brother had told them in his final months that he despised the 2 executors and didn't want them anywhere near his life or fortune. The allegations didn't just stop there. The siblings claimed the executors had forged Michael's signature on his will, which they said was dated at a time when Michael wasn't even in Los Angeles to sign it. They accused the men of exploitation, saying that they had taken advantage of their 82-year-old mother to get her approval for higher fees from the state's income. These were not just baseless claims from a few disgruntled family members. The letter contained shocking allegations of fraud, forgery, and illegal conduct, explosive charges that threatened to upend Michael's final wishes and put the entire distribution of his assets in jeopardy. If proven true, it could mean that the executors had potentially defrauded Michael's children and the rightful heirs out of their inheritance. But the executors John Branca and John McClane swiftly fired back. They adamantly denied the allegations as false and defamatory, calling them stale internet conspiracy theories. A bitter legal battle soon erupted as both sides dug in. In their defense, Branca and McClane pointed to the fact that 3 separate courts had already rejected challenges to Michael's will and affirmed its validity. They argued the document clearly reflected Michael's true intentions, having been consistent across multiple wills he created over the years. The executors also produced evidence that appeared to contradict the siblings' claims. Court documents showed Michael was indeed in Los Angeles on the day in 2002 that his will was supposedly signed. Handwriting experts were brought in to analyze Michael's signature, concluding it was genuine and not forged. Perhaps most significant, Branca and McClane highlighted the remarkable financial turnaround profits they had generated for the estate since Michael's passing. When he died, Michael was actually hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. But under their leadership, the state had already made over $475 million in just a few years' time. Money that secured the financial future of Michael's children and beneficiaries. With such widely conflicting accounts, it became a case of he said, they said, as allegations of evidence from both sides mounted. Allegations of greed, deception, and mismanagement were flung in both directions, and only one narrative could be true. With millions of dollars and Michael Jackson's legacy hanging in the balance, it ultimately fell on the courts to determine whose version of events was credible and legally valid, and the rulings were about to send shockwaves through the family feud. Despite the explosive allegations from the Jackson siblings, judge after judge sided with the executors and upheld the validity of Michael's 2002 will. The most damning blow came in 2012 when a Los Angeles judge bluntly stated, "The executors placed all accusations of deception and fraud to rest." The courts methodically picked apart the siblings' claims. Judges said there was no evidence supporting the allegations of forgery, citing handwriting expert analysis confirming Michael's signature as genuine. They dismissed the siblings' anecdotes about Michael's stated dislike for the executors as inadmissible hearsay. Perhaps most importantly, the courts found that Michael's 2002 will consistently named the same two executors he had chosen years earlier in his 1997 and 1995 wills. This pattern, they ruled, clearly demonstrated his intent and sharp, long-standing appreciation for Branca and McLean to carry out his wishes. With the legal battles conclusively decided in the executors' favour, they were free to continue managing Michael's assets per his stated will. The high-profile Jackson case exposed serious issues around wills, inheritance, and family dynamics, and it provided critical lessons for anyone looking to protect their own final wishes. At its core, the Jackson family feud showcased how ugly and contentious disputes can become when large sums of money are involved. Greed, jealousy, and conflicting interests often lead families into costly legal battles over loved ones' assets and legacies. The key takeaway is the importance of creating an ironclad will and estate plan to prevent any ambiguity or vulnerability to challenges down the road. Experts advise to have a vetted and impartial executor, along with backups in place. Wills should be updated regularly and stored properly, with copies distributed to trusted parties. It's also crucial to take preemptive steps that Michael Jackson did, clearly documenting your intentions and desired executors across multiple wills over the years. This established a consistent paper trail that judges relied upon to uphold his wishes. Ultimately, the Jackson case taught a sobering lesson about the challenges of ensuring your final instructions are properly carried out and not derailed by bitter family feuds after you're gone. Taking the right precautions and leaving no room for doubt is critical to protecting your assets and legacy as you intended. While the Jackson case provided some harsh lessons, it also highlighted crucial strategies for shielding your own will from being torn apart by allegations of fraud, forgery, or undue influence down the road. One of the most important safeguards is carefully selecting impartial witnesses with no financial interest in your estate to be present when you sign your will. This prevents any claims that signatures were forged or the will maker was coerced. It's also critical to maintain thorough documentation of your mental competence through regular medical evaluations and cognitive assessments. This creates a paper trail disproving any allegations that you were unduly influenced or mentally incapacitated when drafting your will. From a legal standpoint, having the will drafted and executed under the guidance of an experienced estate attorney is vital. They know all the technical requirements for a valid will in your state's jurisdiction. Finally, experts advise being extremely cautious about giving someone power of attorney, as this would enable undue influence over your assets and financial instructions if that authority is abused. Only by taking these preemptive measures, you create layers of protection and documentation that can fend off any potential challenges to your will's validity, ensuring that your final wishes are carried out as you intended. Whether you're a global superstar like Michael Jackson, or someone of more humble means, we could all learn from the bitter family feud that erupted over his multi-million-dollar estate after his tragic passing. The contentious legal battles underscored the vital importance of creating an absolutely ironclad will and estate plan to protect your assets and legacy, which is why I recommend checking out some of my other videos on my channel so you can learn about the specific strategies for safeguarding your final instructions and shielding your will from ever being torn apart by bitter family disputes over money and inheritance. Because the reality is, properly protecting your assets and ensuring your final wishes are carried out is more complex than just making some notes. There are technical requirements, documentation needs, and potential pitfalls that can leave everything you've worked for your entire life vulnerable to being taken away from your intended beneficiaries.